Shavua Tov, good morning, Kal Kadosh. We're just going to continue with Daf Nun Vav today, 56a1. I'm just going to start on Hamul Bet just to get back into it. We just answered that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold of the concept of Bereda. Remember, the concept of Bereda means is that do I say that retroactively I understood what was going on? So says the Gemara Minalan, how do we know that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold of Bereda? If you're going to tell me it's from that which we learned in the Mishnah, there's actually a Tosefta. The Tosefta says, right? If a person is going to purchase wine from a kuti, we're talking about here, that's what it says in brackets, it was Erev Shabbat, which means he didn't have time to separate any types of trumot or masrot. Omer ve'omer, so according to Shitat Rabbi Meir, he just stands up. What does he say? He says, Shne lugin shani atid la'afrish haren truma. There's going to be 2 lugim out of everything that I'm going to separate of 100. It's going to be considered teruma, which means, remember that the first thing that you ever separate is Truma Gdola. Truma Gdola is 1/50th, so that's why it makes sense that there's going to be 2 out of 100, okay? And the 1/50th goes to Truma Gdola, goes to the, who does it go to? Truma Gdola goes to the Kohen, yeah? So the first Truma Gdola goes to the Kohen. Afterwards, Nuvav Mudale, 56a1, Asara Maaser Rishon, 10, which is 10%, goes to the Levi. Maaser Rishon, no. 10 goes to the Levi from the original 100. So 1/50th first goes to Truma Gdola to the Kohen, 10% goes to the Levi. That's called Maaser. Everyone, you should know, 90% of people think Maaser goes to the Kohen. Incorrect. Maaser to the Levi. Yeah, Maaser, 10% to the Levi. Okay? 90% go to Kohen? What? No. What happens is you have 1/50th goes to the Kohen. That's Truma Gdola. Maaser, what? 1/50th, 150, 1 out of 50. 2%. 2% goes to 2% goes to the Kohen. 10% goes to the Levi. The Levi takes off 10% of his 10%. That's called Maaser mina Maaser or Trumat Maaser. Trumat Maaser, which goes to the Kohen, comes from the Levi. It does not come from the Kohen. It doesn't come from the Israel. The Israel gave everything to the Kohen. There's a whole question. What happens if the Israel took off Trumat Maaser to give it to the Kohen before giving it to the Levi, right? Or he took off the Maaser before taking off Truma Gdola. You understand? There's all questions throughout the Gemara, right? However, though, in our Gemara, what's the normal way? Normal way is Truma Gdola to the Kohen. Maaser Rishon, which is 10%, to the Levi. The Levi takes off 10% and he gives it to the Kohen, which is Maaser mina Maaser or Trumat Maaser. Then it says, right after that, you're going to now take off another 9. Because remember, you already took off Truma Gdola, you took off the Maaser, so now you're only going to have 90. So now that you have only 90 left, or 88, whatever it is, what are you going to take off? Another 10%. But another 10% is only going to be 9 now. It's not going to be 10. What is that? Maaser Sheni. Remember that in years 1, 2, 4, 5 of Shemitah, 1, 2, 4, 5, Maaser Sheni. Maaser Sheni, you take the fruits, you take them up to Jerusalem, to Eretz Israel, and you have to eat them inside of Yerushalayim. If you don't want to use the fruits because they're going to get bad or whatever it is, you redeem them, you add a 5th, and after adding a 5th, you take the money to Eretz Israel, and there you buy your shawarma, whatever you want in Yerushalayim, and bon appetit. Yeah, that's when you're going to eat, okay? So, Tisha, Maaser Sheni. Umechel, and then you're going to be mechalel, the Maaser Sheni, against money. Veshote miyad, and then you're allowed to eat it immediately. Tivrei Rabbi Meir. So Shitat Rabbi Meir, you're doing breda. Why? Because right now you're not actually separating the ma'asrot and you're not separating all these things. You're just saying it. And the second that you're saying it, that's already enough. Because then it's retroactively that it's going to be done. Nun Vav Amud 56b. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon Osrin. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, they prohibit drinking from the wine if you didn't actually, right, separate the Trumot to Masrot, which means according to Rabbi Yehuda, he's one of the 3 over here, they say that you're not allowed to until you physically do it. You have to actually do it. Almas, you see from here, and Breda, that according to Shtat Rabbi Yehuda, he doesn't hold Breda. So says the Gemara, Mimai, how do you know this from? Dilma, maybe Shane Hatam, it's different over there. Kediktani Tama, like the reasoning that we said there. Amluro Rabbi Meir, they told Rabbi Meir, what's going to happen if all of a sudden the barrel is going to burst? Remember, he's separating everything on a barrel. And a barrel burst, it's going to break. And everything's going to go to the waste. So now imagine right now like this. Yeah, everyone look. I've got right now a barrel over here. Truth is, we don't. So one more time. This is the barrel. This is going to be a barrel of wine. I'm now going to be eating this, whatever I have in my hands, a whole bunch of different things that I just purchased from the Kuti Erev Shabbat. And I'm going to say, what I'm going to eat from this, I didn't take off Trumot Matzot. So how do I do? The 2% that's in this barrel to the Kohen, 10% to the Levi, another 9%, right? Which is going to be only 9, right? It's not really 9%, but it's, from the original amount, 9% to myself from Maaser Sheni that I'm going to eat in Yerushalayim. Now, they say to Rabbi Meir, 1 second, how does that help? Did you actually separate the Trumot Matzot? You didn't separate it. What's going to happen if this barrel breaks and all the wine goes to waste? So what did you just eat now? You ate tevel. You just ate untithed produce that you didn't take off Trumot Matzot. So they told Rabbi Meir, not what? You don't think that maybe it's going to break? And it comes out that retroactively you ate tevalim. So Rabbi Meir answered them, which means when it breaks, then let's speak. Yeah, let's speak about it when it breaks. Meaning, what? You're going to start suspecting that it's going to break. When was the last time the barrel breaks? One in I don't know what. You understand? It's not common, right? When was the last time the AC broke? It's not common. Yeah? That's okay. Yeah? So he says, Ela medetani. So therefore, that was the reasoning why, not because they didn't hold of lemafreya. Really, they do hold of lemafreya, just like a Meir. But they just hold, Shemai bakanot. Maybe the barrel is going to break. Ela medetani, but rather, just like they taught Ayo, right? Ayo was the name of a rabbi. So it says the Tani Ayo was Ayo taught. Rabbi Yehuda says, En Adam matne al shne davarim kecha, which means that a person cannot make two conditions at the same time. Which means, right? He says, for example, let's say two chachamim come, right, and they want to be shovet on two different sides of the city, right? So they cannot put the two different eruvin and make a condition. Yeah, if I want to listen to this rabbi, so I'm going to go to the east. If I want to listen to the other rabbi, I'm going to go to the west. Meaning, from where he was inside of his city, he wasn't able to travel on Shabbat outside of the Tchum. Remember, outside of the Tchum is without carrying, because carrying is a different issue. That's a different concept. Tchum means even if I'm not carrying anything. Can I walk right now to Hollywood on Shabbat? Can I walk to 123rd Street on Shabbat? Alpay Mama, 2,000 amot. It's actually a little bit more, but it's 2,000, then it's 173, and then you get another 7, whatever the amount, but it's very small. 2,000 amot is nothing. Remember that 2,000 amot, we're talking about just under a kilometer, 930 meters, or 1.1, mamash 1.054, whatever kilometers, according to the Chazon Ish. Mamash klum. It's nothing. It's one kilometer. Not 1 mile, 1 kilometer. Yeah, it's nothing. Remember, from here to Miami Beach is 5 miles, right? No, 5 miles. Okay, fine. So you have a team. But I'm talking about space. I'm talking about distance. So the distance you have it. So you're right. It has to be without. So for example, when you go to 96 and then you pass the bridge, right when you get from the bridge, you go to the gas station. Then you have the next part. Until you start getting houses, you have more than a kilometer there. You have much more than a kilometer, right? So now you have the question: are you allowed to travel there? And it's very problematic because if there's no tchum, there's nothing there. There's no houses. Come on, so you can't cross the bridge, right, on Shabbat. So it says over here. So imagine right now, I'm going to be smart. What's my chacham, my chokhmah? I'm going to put my bread and everything in order to be shovet right at the end, right before the bridge of 96th Street, and then I'm going to put it on the other side by Halover, right? And then what am I going to do? I'm going to say, listen. If I wanted to hear Haham, Saban, I'm going to go and I'm going to put it on 96th Street and I'm going to go that way. And if I wanted to hear Haham Kohen, I'm going to go to the right, I'm going to go all over. And if I wanted to hear Haham Pinto, I'm going to put it on the left and I'm going to go to, towards Miami Beach. Miami Beach anyway, there's no problem because there are houses going all the entire way, right? And even if there's a little tiny piece, for example, the bridge on 63rd, that it's very small. That's a very small bridge, but immediately right afterwards, there's already houses. You understand? And there's houses before. So there, it's okay. You understand? Meaning to Miami Beach, doesn't matter which way you go, you do have houses wherever you go. So that's okay. The only problem is Hallover because of the entire Hallover Park and everything, and the bridge over there for 123rd. Okay, so he says over here. So you see that you can't start putting your eruv tchumins in different parts and start making conditions. But rather, in the ma'arav but that means like this. If he says you can make a condition that whichever one is good, which means, let's say I don't know who's coming. I don't know if it's a Haham Pinto, Haham Saban, or Haham Kohen. Yeah? So since I don't know which one, I'm going to put them in all three. I say if the Chacham comes, I'm going to the right. If the Chacham comes, I'm going to the left. That's okay. Why? Because I don't. But not that I'm putting all three and I say they're all good, but it depends which one do I want to hear today. Today I want to think, today I'm going to go to this one. Meaning that I cannot do. Meaning I could do, I don't know who's coming. So if I don't know who's coming, I'm putting them all three. And I'm saying, just in case, if he comes on the right, I'm going to the right. If he comes to the left, I'm going to the left. If he goes to the that you could do. But I cannot come, you know what? Bali lafa hayom. So I'm going to go to the right. Bali falafel, I'm going to go to the left. But no. Those things are.
If I'm going to put here.
So we're going to ask now, Maishna, what's the difference between lekan and lekan delo? The embreda, because there's no breda. Lemizrach u'ma'arav nami embreda. So also to the right and the left also we're going to say that there's no breda. Rabbi Yochanan says, Keshekvar ba'chacham. We're talking about that the chacham already came. Okay, so which means that according to Rabbi Yochanan, his answer is the chacham already came, and therefore you already knew where he was. So therefore, when you're now making the condition that it's going to be right, you're going to make the eruv or whatever it is. So then it makes sense then. Okay, v'hashta damnina. Now that you just said that Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, em breda, there's no breda. Ha-ketiva itle. He says 1 second. There's ketiva, which means that according to Rabbi Yehuda, we do somech on ketiva. Right, that was to do with the concept, if you remember, by the kinei chova, by the kinim, whether they wrote on top of the tzedakah boxes, if they would write chova or not. Yom Kippurim nami, Yom Kippurim also navi trei. Just make two, v'nichtov alayu, and just write it. Which means, if according to Rabbi Yehuda we write, and if we write, we do somech on ketiva. And if I'm going to write on top of the tzedakah box, this is for chova, or this is for kippur, or this is for whatever it is going to be okay. So then, why do we say that there's no breda? Just do it then. Remember, how did this all start? This all started because we had a problem that we had maybe a tzedakah box of kinei chova for chatats. And what happened is that the owner might have died. So we said, what? We suspect that people are going to just drop dead? We don't suspect for that. So we answered, no, you're right. The owner died. So we asked, if the owner died, and therefore you cannot bring a chatat shemetu be'alea, the chatat, a sin offering that the owners died, you cannot bring it, right? Because it's an averah to bring a sin offering. You could bring a burnt offering. You could bring a peace offering. You can't bring a sin offering. Is it nice? Imagine you're going to come and say, I sinned against you. It's something good. Okay, it's good. How chutzpah, you sinned against Hashem, and now you're going to come and say it out loud like that. And now, the chatat shemetu be'aleh, that's it. There's nothing more to do. So what is the answer? So the answer that we say is that he comes over here and he says like this. He says, what happens is he says, so if it's like that, we said, why don't we just take 4 coins out and throw it in the garbage? Throw them away. So we answered, he doesn't hold of breda. He says, yeah, but he holds of ketiva. In ketiva, we do somech on this. So even if he's not going to hold the breda, but he still should hold of this that you just write on it. And we're going to rely upon what you write. Why? Somebody's going to come to the tzedakah box. He's immediately going to see that it's written chova, or it's written whatever it is, and then that's it. And that's already enough. So answers the Gemara, mishum chulshat the kohen gadol. You have to remember the chulshav the kohen gadol lavadate. He doesn't pay attention to what's written on it. Meaning the kohen gadol in Kippur. Remember, he stayed up the entire night. He's fasting. He's running around like a little kid. And remember, he could be kohen gadol already for 40 years, and he still has to run around the same way. Huh? Yeah, he was up all night. Yeah. So he says, "Dilo temahachi." But if you're not going to say that, belok tivanami, even without that, haynafish v'hayzutar. This one's a big one, and this one's a small one, which means there's much more dama par than dama said. Dama said is a he goat. It's much smaller. The bull is much bigger. So you don't even have to write down which one's which. At the end of the day, you just have to look. If I see a big quantity, it's a bull. Small quantity, it's a he goat. But no, even if I would write it down on it, it still wouldn't help. He's not paying attention. It's so difficult for him. He's weak. He's not going to start paying attention. So now if you're going to tell me that he's not going to accept the entire thing, right? He's not going to accept the entire blood of the mapar, and that's why they almost look the same amount. The Amar Rav Yehuda says, the one that does shechita, is the Kohen Gadol. So the Kohen Gadol starts the Shechita, and then immediately he gives it to somebody else to finish off the Shechita. Why does he do that? Because immediately he takes the receptacle, and then he's going to accept all the blood. Now he has to receive all the blood of the pot. So you're going to have a lot of blood in that pot. Now you're going to tell me, maybe some of it's spilled, right? He says the dama sayyid, the blood, right, is more like whitish, and the one of the dama pot, it's more reddish. So basically, even the bloods look a little bit different. You understand? The blood of each animal looks a little bit different. One's more whitish and one's more reddish. So rather, because of the Kohen Gadol is so weak, he doesn't pay attention. So tunami mishum chushat the Kohen Gadol, he's not going to pay attention. Okay? Very good. Let's continue. How the Nachri Kamed Rabba? There was once a shliach tzibur that went in front of the teva, in front of Rabba. Ve'amar, and he said, Yatsa v'nicho al kan sheni shebayachal. That he came out, the Kohen Gadol came out of the Kodesh Kodashim, and he placed the Dama Sayyid on the second basin in the Echal. Natal Dama Par v'niach Dama Sayyid. He took the pot and then he niach Dama Sayyid. Right? He went and he said, I don't understand what's going on. Why? Because if there's going to be two basins, so you're not switching one with the other. One is for Dama Par and one is for Dama Sayyid. So it's a stira in his own words, meaning he was trying to say, what's going on over here? Because the same shliach tzibur didn't pay attention to what he's saying. Mitzad echad, he's saying there were two basins, one for the tamapar and one for the Masayid. But then he said he took one and he placed the other. So that's so he says, Amalei, he went and he tells the shliach tzibur, Chadak Rabbanan v'Chadak Rabbi Yehuda. I don't understand you. You're going one like the Rabbanan, which means that there's two of them, right? And then you're going one like Rabbi Yehuda that you're switching. What's going on? Ema hiniach tamasayid and dan damapar. You have to say hiniach tamasayid and dan damapar, which is like the shita of, right, the chachamim, not like Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, fine. Says the two dots. So he's going to sprinkle the blood on the parochet, right? Keneged Aaron, opposite Aaron from the outside, which means beforehand he was doing it on the place of the Aaron inside the Kodesh Kodashim, but on the floor. Remember, nothing was actually on the kaporet. Rather, like nothing was actually on the Aaron. It was on the floor beside the Aaron. Here now, it was on the parochet, which is opposite the Aaron. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in Braita. What does that mean? What is this coming to teach you? Just like he's going to start sprinkling, the Kohen Gadol is going to sprinkle in the Kodesh Kodashim, so too he's going to sprinkle in the Echal. Just like it has to be one on the top and seven on the bottom from the blood of the par. So too, when you're going to do on the Echal, it's going to be the same thing, which means the exact same process that you do inside of the Kodesh Kodashim by the Aron, you're going to do the exact same process on the Parochet outside. Okay? And just like Lifnai Lifnim, it's Echal Lamal V'Shem Lamata Dama Sayyid. So just like it's Dama Sayyid, so too Mazeh Be'echal, so too you're going to do the Echal. Which means that you're doing 7 on inside, 7 outside. 7 inside, 7 outside. Right? That's already going to be 14 and 14. Because you're doing 14 times Dama Par, 14 times Dama Sayyid. Okay? Afterwards he's Marvev Otam and then he puts it on the Mizbach Hazav. Yeah, but that's afterwards. Okay, so first we're talking about the sprinkling separately. Okay, so 7 in front of the Aron and 7 in the Parochet opposite the Aron. So he says, Afilu b'shat she'en t'meim, even during the time when they're going to be t'meim, Shekhinah imahem, the Shekhinah is going to be with them. Amalei tzedoki, what does that mean? Even during the time when Bnei Yisrael are sinning and we're in Tumah, the Shekhinah is still with them. Amalei tzedoki l'Rebbe Chanina, says that tzedoki to Rebbe Chanina, Nunzai l'Mudalef, hashta bari t'meim matun. Right now, for sure, you guys are going to be t'meim. Tichtiv tumata b'shulea, that the tum'ah is going to be recognized by it, and the Shekhinah is not going to be like it. Right? What does that mean? Now that you went into Galut, for sure you guys are tameh. So since for sure you guys are tameh, there's no Shekhinah anymore. So Amalei, he says, Tachaz dimaktiv, words written there. Which means even if it's going to be that Tumat Yisrael are coming because of our sins, we still have the Shekhinah. So it means no matter what, we still have the Shekhinah. That means even though we sin for sure, and even though we're in exile, we still have the Shekhinah with us. And Bezat Hashem, we continue tomorrow. Bezat Hashem.